the light?
First, we're gonna check up under the car, make sure ain't no leakage, showing that if we have any oil leakage or radiator leakage. And then we're gonna make sure it's not leaning to the side. That will indicate a suspension damage anywhere. And then we got our top clearance, we got our clearance lights. They clear, not cracked, properly mounted and secured. It's our fender mirrors, properly mounted and secured. No nuts, bunch of screws missing. And it's the mirror that's on the fender mirror. It's properly mounted and secured. Clean, clear, and not cracked. This our front turn signal lights. They're amber, properly mounted and secured. Clean, clear, and not cracked. It's our regular, low and high beam lights. Properly mounted and clear, clean, clear, and not cracked, not fogged out. And then we go inside.
Okay, you got a couple things. All right, let me go over real quick. All right, so let me try again. All right, we got our clearance lights, properly mounted, secured, nuts and bolts are present tight. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. The color of the lights, amber in color. My windshield is properly mounted. It was an automatic fail.
Yeah, I forgot
It's
that.
properly mounted and secured with rubber adhesive around the windshield. There's no abrasions, cuts, or bubbles, and no dry rot. The windshield itself is clean and clear. It's not cracked, bent, or broken, and there's no illegal stickers. The windshield wipers, properly mounted and secured, nuts and bolts are present tight. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. They're flush up against the windshield, so they clean it properly, and the rubber on it should be no abrasions, cuts, bubbles, or dry rot. The hood itself is properly mounted and secured, nuts and bolts are present tight. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. My grill, properly mounted and secured, nuts and bolts are present tight. It's not cracked, bent, or broken, and there's no debris to stop any kind of airflow. My bumper, properly mounted, secured, nuts and bolts are present tight. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. My license plate should be properly mounted, secured. There should be nuts and bolts and present tight, and it should be cracked, bent, or broken, and it should be up to date. I'll check under here for the 5 major fluids. No gas, oil, radiator fluid, transmission fluid, or power steering fluid. Also, I look at my suspension. Make sure I don't have no leans. That would indicate I have a flat tire, I would have broken suspension, or a shift in my load. They want to hear all 3 of those. My fender mirrors are properly mounted and secured. Nuts and bolts are present tight. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. The mirror itself is clean and clear and properly mounted and secured. My lights, clean and clear, properly mounted and secured. Nuts and bolts are present tight. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. High beam, low beam, 2-part system. 3-part is my hazard lights, turn signal lights, and marker lights. Now we're going to go up under. Close it back. All right, while we're here, let's go ahead and do this. On my door, my mirror, nuts and bolts are present tight. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's clean and clear, and it should be set where I can see it. My door handle works properly. It opens and closes. The rubber seal around it, no abrasions, cuts, bubbles, or dry rot, and it's sealed properly so that no fumes will get on the inside of it. My battery box, properly mounted and secured. Nuts and bolts are present tight. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's secured to the frame of my vehicle, and there's no leaks in the battery. Also, my steps, properly mounted and secured. Nuts and bolts are present tight. It's not cracked, bent, or broken, and it's clean and clear. Any debris, and you can't slip and fall, so you can't slip and fall. I have 3 external air tanks. They're all properly mounted and secured. Nuts and bolts are present tight. They're not cracked, bent, or broken. There are no leaks. The frame of my truck should be properly mounted and secured. Nuts and bolts are present and tight. No illegal welds. My fuel tank should be properly mounted and secured and bolted to the frame of the vehicle. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. No leaks. My lid is hand tightened. I open it. The rubber seals on the inside are good and not cracked. And it uses diesel fuel only, hand tightened. Also, my straps are properly mounted and secured. And it has the rubber vibrators in between here, so there'll be no friction in between these 2 instruments. Now, I have a marker light here, properly mounted and secured. Nuts and bolts are present and tight. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. My steps, properly mounted and secured. Nuts and bolts are present and tight. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. My catwalk, properly mounted and secured. Nuts and bolts are present and tight. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's clear of any debris. I will get under there and show that I have 2 3-part drive shaft system. This is my intermediate here. It's properly mounted and secured with a U-bolt, and there's no debris there. It works properly. Here's my exhaust. Even though it's over here, it's still connected over here. Properly mounted and secured. Nuts and bolts are present tight. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. My air lines. My blue is my service line. And my red is my emergency line. It's properly mounted and secured. There's no leaks, abrasions, or cuts, and no exposed wiring. It hooks up to the glide hands. There should be a rubber seal in here. There should be no cracks, and there should be no leaks here, okay? Now, the green one is my electrical. I'm gonna actually unplug it. I'm gonna look inside of here and make sure there's no collapse, broken. This is the female end of it, and it's properly greased. I will plug it up, make sure there's no debris in here, and none of the rods on the male end are broken. All right, and there's no leaks in these lines whatsoever. Also, there's a 303 rule. Should be 3 feet between the back of the truck and the front of the bulkhead of the trailer. There should be 0 space in between the 5th wheel plate and the bottom of the apron. Then there should be 3 feet from here, the back of the mud flap, to the landing gear. All right, I'm going to go ahead and go back up front here. I'm going to crank it up. All right, so we're opening the hood. We'll start from the left side. On the left side, this is my air filter. It's properly mounted and secure. Nuts and bolts are present tight. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's clear of any debris inside of here. This is my radiator reservoir. It is properly mounted and secured. Nuts and bolts are present tight. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It should be at the full level. The knob should be hand tightened. The hoses, properly mounted and secured. Nuts and bolts are present and tight. There's no leaks, abrasions, or cuts or bubbles in them. All the lines, and they all go to the water pump, which is gear driven, properly mounted, secured. Nuts and bolts are present tight, and not cracked, bent, or broken. All right, so that's it on this side of the truck. Oh, no, I forgot. This is my air pressure, my air compressor. It's properly mounted and secured. Nuts and bolts are present tight. It's not cracked, bent, or broken, and it's belt driven. Yeah, come over here. Here's my washer fluid reservoir. It should be at the full position, and it should be capped off properly. This is my horn mechanism, properly mounted, secured. Nuts and bolts are present tight. No exposed wires. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. All of my wires, there's no exposed wires. They're all properly mounted and secured. This is my steering column. It's properly mounted and secured. Nuts and bolts are present tight. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It has no more than 10 degrees play in it. It is secured to the gearbox with a U-bolt. The gearbox itself is properly mounted and secured. Nuts and bolts are present and tight. To the frame of the vehicle, it's not cracked, bent, or broken. All of the hoses, properly mounted and secured. No abrasions, cuts, bubbles, or air leaks. This here is my power steering fluid reservoir. It should be hand tightened. It should be at the full position. You follow the hoses, and it goes, it shakes you right down in here to the actual power steering pump. It's properly mounted and secured. Nuts and bolts are present tight, and has no leaks. My gearbox itself, again, it's properly mounted and secured. Nuts and bolts are present tight, it's not cracked, bent, or broken. I come down here to my 3-part leakage system, which is my pivot arm, my drag link, and my upper and lower control arms. They're all properly mounted and secured. Nuts and bolts are present and tight with a castle nut and a cotter pin. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. This here is my leaf spring. It's properly mounted and secured. My nuts and bolts are present and tight. I want to actually touch this bull nut. Make sure it's present and tight. The bull nut. And it's no illegal welds. This is my leaf spring hanger. Properly mounted and secured. Nuts and bolts are present and tight. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. Right here is my shock absorber. Properly mounted and secured. Nuts and bolts are present and tight. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. And there's no leaks. Then I come in here. Here's my axle. My axle is connected to the leaf spring with U-bolts. They're all properly mounted, secured. Nuts and bolts are present and tight. This is my axle rod back here, or my tie rod. Properly mounted, secured. Nuts and bolts are present tight. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. I also have an airbag here with an upper and lower plate. It is properly mounted, secured. Nuts and bolts are present tight. There's no leaks, abrasions, cuts, or bubbles. All right. On my here, I have my air chamber hoses. They're all properly mounted and secured. No abrasions, cuts, bubbles, or air leaks. My brake chamber itself is properly mounted and secured. Nuts and bolts are present tight. It's not cracked, bricked, or broken. My it has no more than a 1/4 inch play in my slack adjuster. All right, and it's connected with a Revel and a pin here. Got to make sure those are secure. Then on the inside of my brakes, I got an S-Cam brake system. I want to make sure that I at least have a 1/4 or more of meat on the brake system itself. There can be no cracks, bends, or broken. There can be no damage there. Also, it should be beaded and seated in the rim on the inside of the tire. There should be no illegal wells, and there's nothing cracked, bent, or broken. It's properly mounted and secured. On the tire itself, it should be no more than 430 seconds. This tire cannot be a recap. It must be a virgin tire and a radial, and it should be inflated to 100 to 110 psi based on the manufacturer's specification. It should be beaded and seated to the rim. The rim itself should have no abrasions, cuts. The rim itself should be properly mounted and secured with not cracked, bent, or broken, and no illegal wells. Each of my things are properly mounted, nuts and bolts properly mounted and secured. This here is my hub seal, properly mounted and secured. Nuts and bolts are present tight. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's no leaks. Pretty much it on that. Come back here. We'll talk about the front of the trailer. All my rivets are properly mounted and secured. Nothing's cracked, bent, or broken. It's identified properly with an identification placard. Then under here is my apron. These tires here, this is my mud flap, properly mounted and secured to the frame of the vehicle. Nuts and bolts are present tight. Here goes another spring leaf hanger, properly mounted and secured. These nuts and bolts should be are properly mounted and secured. This bull nut has to be tight. Okay, if you don't mention that bull nut, you will be an automatic fail. And here go my spring leaf hangers. They're properly stacked, not cracked, bent, or broken, and no illegal wells. There's a clearance between my apron and my tires. My tires are butt to butt on the hubs of them. There's no abrasions, cuts, or bubbles, a dry rot in here. There's also no debris. And you can have 230 seconds of tread on the tires. These can be retreads, but on the side of them, there can be no abrasions, cuts, cracks, dry rot, or exposed wiring. Beaded and seated to the rim itself. Then you touch every last one of these bolts and make sure they're properly mounted and secured. And then on your stem, it should have a metal cap on it and no illegal wells. All right. Then when you start talking about up under here, you got your 5th wheel slide plate. It's properly mounted and secured. If you don't name that slide plate and say that the bolts are secured to the frame of the vehicle, it's an automatic fail. This is your kingpin handle, and this is your 5th wheel plate. And it's again, we already said that there's no space in between it and the apron itself. Right here is your cross members and your wires are properly mounted and secured. Nuts and bolts are present and tight, and your spring is not cracked, bent, or broken. Same with these tires. You got a bull nut. You got your spring hanger, then your spring leaf, and that bull nut. You gotta make sure you talk about that. Then you got your airbags, upper and lower plates. No abrasions, cuts, or bubbles, not cracked, bent, or broken. Then you got to actually get under the trailer and talk about your locking jaws, all of the air hoses under there. You have to talk about this electrical outlet, your lights, your rear lights. These are red in color, that's white in color. You got to talk about your cross member. There's a cross member there as well. Then you talk about your landing gear feet. On the other side, the thing that turns it is gear driven. It's your landing gear handle. Then you talk about your cross members. And then on your trailer, you got to talk about all of your DOT reflectors. They should be evenly spaced 100% down the side of the trailer. Your placards are properly mounted and secure. And every so often you look and say, hey, it's not cracked, bent, or broken. All of my rivets are in place and not missing. And then under here, wherever there's rivets, there's a cross member. It shouldn't be cracked, bent, or broken, and there shouldn't be no illegal welds on it. So as you go down the trailer, if you get the trailer, talk about that. You got a marker light, rivets, cross member. Rivets, cross member. Illegal welds, properly mounted. Back here, you have another bull nut. You have a spring leaf hanger. You have your torque and your torque bar. And then same with the tires here. Touch each of the rims here. Then you have brake chambers, the slack adjusters, and airbags back here as well that you got to talk about. You come to the back. Here are your mud flaps. You have to talk about your license plate, properly mounted secure, lights, red in color, turn signals and flashers, and brake lights, properly mounted secured. You have to talk about the door hinges, the door is secure, it won't open. Then you got to talk about, make sure that these glad hands, the air knobs are turned off in the off position. This is your, if you were carrying another trailer, you was doing doubles. This is your hitch. Make sure you talk about that as well. You talk about your electrical. Then you talk about the whole DOT bumper, approved bumper in the back. Then you talk about your reflectors. Should be 100% across the back. All right. Let's do the in-cab inspection real quick. If you're going to record that, I would suggest you do that. I don't know if y'all want, two can get on the other side and one can stand here. Okay, so we're in here now. When you get in the vehicle, you put on your seatbelt, all right, and say, my seatbelt is properly mounted secure, nuts and bolts are present and tight. It secures properly. There's no abrasions, cuts, bubbles, dry rot, or frays. And then over here on the left side, you say my door opens and closes. My window rolls up and down. Always start from the left and work yourself in. My mirror is properly mounted secured. Nuts and bolts are present tight. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's clean and clear, and it should be set for me. The window rolls up and down. So I can listen in here for bells and whistles. My door opens and closes. Even though you set it out there, you gotta set it on the inside. My rubber seal is properly mounted, so no vapors will come inside of the vehicle. Okay. Call her back. All right, and then there's all of that. Then you come over. We're gonna do what's called a safe start. All right. Make sure your brake is on. The brakes are secure. Turn it on. All right. Then you talk about your windshield. My windshield is properly mounted and secured. It's secured with a rubber seal. There's no abrasion, cuts, or bubble, or dry rot. The window itself is clean and clear. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. The windshield wipers work properly. You hold it, and the fluid should come out. I need to put some more fluid. There you go. Yeah. All right. The fluid comes out, so it works properly. The windshield wipers are properly mounted and secured. Nothing but present tight. There's no abrasions, cuts, or bubbles, and they reflect against the windshield. All right. Come back over here. I'm going to do my overhead horn and my service horn. Then I got my left turn signal, right turn signal, my hazard lights. Keep those on. Turn your headlights on. Then right here, the blue indicator. When I do that, it shows that my high beam, low beams work properly. All right. Then, so we covered all that. My brake works properly. My gas pedal works, which means that my RPM needle rises and falls. All right. So I'm gonna talk about it up here. So my oil pressure gauge should be between 50 and 60. My temperature gauge can be no more than 200. Obviously, we just saw the needle rises and falls. My battery should be 12 volts or more for the vehicle to start. My miles per hour, we're standing still now. My fuel should be at a fourth of a tank or more for us to continue this test. My primary and secondary air pressure gauges should be at 110 or more. All right. So we covered all that. My steering wheel has no more than 10 degrees play in it. All right. We already checked this. This is my trailer brake. This is my tractor brake. Each one of y'all know that you got to hold this to take the brakes off because I got to secure it. Somebody broke it. All right. Here's my defrost. Turn it on. Turn it all the way. We can hear it operate. It's working properly. Then that's that there. We already checked the lights. Then here's my gear, my shifting mechanism here to the neutral position. Then I've got my fire extinguisher under here. It is fully charged and properly mounted. And then my triangles are in the red box under here. Then you tell them, put on your seatbelt, make sure that it's properly mounted and secured, that there's no abrasions, cuts, and bubbles, and that it secures properly. That is your in-cab inspection. All right. Then on the air brake test, just go ahead and put this down.
We'll put it back here.
No, it goes on your front wheel. One goes in the back of it.